course, we'll have to thank Miss Donna, too. I think she sort of kept them in line. Tonight, for those that don't know, I'm Cindy Bracken.
I'm Hannah Sellards.
And we just wanted to welcome you to First Baptist Church, Waynesboro. We have a little bit of just those things that we need to take care of if you need to go to the restroom. I'm sorry, you can go in the back and come around this way, but you'll need to go through the double doors and to your right, and the restroom is in there. There's a water fountain back there also if you need to have a drink of water. Tonight, we're just excited. I know we're going to be blessed, and this is such a great crowd, and we thank you so much for taking your Sunday evening and coming out and joining us. Tonight, we want to remember and honor someone that is a very special part of our ladies, and that is Miss Robin tonight. Robin in our church, and I've only been here a short period of time, but Robin has been back in the Sunday nursery for I don't know how many years. So there's many, many children that she has touched their lives, and I know when I had my grandkids here, I can remember one time I had Mick or Noah, I can't remember which one, they were not very happy, and Robin looked at me and she said, I can handle just about anything, he'll be fine. And that's a very big comfort, and so we want to think about her tonight and want to honor her and her family, and just with sweet memories of Robin.
Yeah, I'm very thankful for Robin, and what she's done for my family is watching both of my children, in the middle of COVID, watching Riggins, and then on to Bridger. They just both found comfort in her, and very thankful for her and her willingness to serve. And her way of serving was for us parents to be able to enjoy Sunday school, enjoy church while she stayed and took care of diapers and bottles and everything like that. And her and Miss Heather both took care of my kids, and I'm very thankful for their acts of service that they did and being obedient to God.
Very much so. So we want you tonight just to be able to sit back and relax. We're going to sing. Then we're going to hear from April, and I know we're going to be blessed, and I want you just to sit back and relax and take everything in. And main thing I know is us ladies right now, we need to sort of clear our minds if you're like me, because you've got things that are on your mind. Sort of clear your mind for just a little bit of time and just open up your heart and let the Lord just speak to you. And I know He will. I know He's here already because I feel it. And I know He's going to bless us all. We're going to ask Corey now if she will come up and pray for us, and then we'll have Gabby come up.
I'm so glad each of you came here tonight. I just pray that this will just be a time of fellowship and worship, and that we just have open hearts and just give it all to God tonight. Just let us pray. Lord, I just come to you tonight with a heart full of gratitude and expectation for what you have for us. Lord, I lift up our speaker to you, April and Gabby, as she leads the music. Lord, I just pray blessings upon their lives for their obedience in doing what you would have them to do. I just pray that you just give them a sense of calm before they come up before you, Lord. I pray for those who had a hand in organizing this tonight, Lord, for each person here in attendance. I just pray for open ears and open hearts, and Lord, that we could just focus the next few minutes on you and just let you fill us up, Lord. I pray that your wisdom and your joy would just come upon us, and Lord, that your Spirit would fill this place. We thank you for all that you do for us and for just allowing us to have this time together tonight. Lord, we love you, and we just thank you for all that you do for us each and every day. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Now we're going to have Gabby come up and lead our music. God has blessed her with such a special voice, and I know she's going to bless us tonight in singing the songs that she has prepared.
You call me out upon the waters, the great unknown, where feet may fail. And there I find you in the mystery. oceans deep, my faith will stand. And I will call upon your name and keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours and you are mine. Your grace abounds in deepest waters. Your sovereign hand will be my guide. Where feet may fail and fear surrounds me, you've never failed and you won't start now. So I will call upon your name and keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours and you are mine. Oh, you are mine. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. So I will call upon your name. Keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours and you are mine. Through the eyes of man, it seems there's so much we have lost. As we look down the road where all the prodigals have walked, one by one the enemy has whispered lies and led them off as slaves. But we know that you are God, yours is the victory. We know there is more to come that we may not yet see. So with the faith you've given us, we'll step into the valley unafraid. As we call out to dry bones, come alive, come alive. God of endless mercy, God of unrelenting love. Rescue every daughter, bring us back the wayward sons, and by your Spirit breathe upon them, show the world that you alone can save. You alone can save. As we call out to dry bones, come alive, come alive. We call out to dead hearts, come alive, come alive. Up out of the ashes, let us see an army rise. As we call out to dry bones, come alive. Breathe the breath of God, now breathe the breath of God. Breathe the breath of God, now breathe. Breathe the breath of God, now breathe the breath of God. Breathe the breath of God, now breathe. As we call out to dry bones, come alive, come alive. We call out to dead hearts, come alive, come alive. Up out of the ashes, let us see an army rise. As we call out to dry bones, come alive. We call out to dry bones, come alive. Oh, come alive, come alive. If everyone would please stand if you're able. These next two songs I'm going to lead you guys, if you guys would read the lyrics and sing along with me. Before I spoke a word, you were singing over me. You have been so, so good to me. Before I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. You have been so, so kind to me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you yourself away. All the overwhelming, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. No shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Yeah. Sorry, guys. I'm a bit nervous, so bear with me, please. There's one more song, though, so please sing as loud as you can. Thank you. Thank you. Christ is my firm foundation, the rock on which I stand when everything around me is shaking. I've never been more glad that I put my faith in Jesus, 'cause he's never let me down. He's faithful through generations. So why would he fail now? He won't. He won't. I've still got joy in chaos. I've got peace that makes no sense. So I won't be going under. I'm not held by my own strength, 'cause I built my life on Jesus. He's never let me down. He's faithful in every season. He won't fail. Came when blue, my house was built on you. I'm safe with you. I'm gonna make it through. Rain came, wind blew, my house was built on you. I'm safe with you. I'm gonna make it through. Rain came, wind blew, my house was built on you. I'm safe with you. I'm gonna make it through. Yeah, I'm gonna make it through. 'Cause I'm standing strong on you. Yeah, I'm gonna make it through. 'Cause my house is built on you. Christ is my firm foundation, the rock on which I stand when everything around me is shaking. I've never been more glad that I put my faith in Jesus, 'cause He's never let me down. He's faithful through generations. So why would He fail now? He won't. He won't. He won't fail. He won't fail. He won't. He won't. He won't fail. He won't fail. He won't.
I said, how is anybody supposed to follow that up? Guys, give Gabby a round of applause. She's awesome. Good job, Gabby. To echo what Miss Cindy said, we are very thankful to have all of you here with us tonight. We know that you are in store for a blessing. My mom was originally supposed to do this, but she said that if she did it, she was going to cry through the whole thing, but I might as well. So we are blessed to have April here with us, and how awesome to see so much of her her friends and her family here. So thank you all for being here to support her. Today, Brother Mickey had talked about in the service about life blindsiding you, and I think we all know that if you know April and her testimony, life definitely will blindside you. And it's her response to everything that she's been through that is so spectacular, and just how she has conducted herself. And so I asked Mom, you know, what are some things that you would say about April? And of course, what would you not say about April? Just smile, the sweet spirit that she's got. And as a teacher, I tell my kids often that it's so important on how we treat people, because although people walk around with smiles, we have no idea what they're going through on a daily basis. And she has a smile on her face and has been through so much that she will tell you about. When I think of April, I can't help but think about Job in the Bible and everything that Job went through. And she has a wonderful testimony, and she's here to share it with you. And I hope that you are blessed, because everybody's going through something, and something that's small to us may seem it's big to us, but she has been through so much, and I'm so proud of her. And just pray for her, be in prayer for her, because it's not easy to get up here and to talk in front of people. And I know she is going to do a wonderful job. So, April, come on up. And if you would, this wasn't in the script, but let's have a prayer for her real quick. If you would, just where you are, if you will say a prayer for her, I'll lead us in a prayer, and we'll pray for April. Dear Lord, we thank you so much for April, for what she means to family, to friends, and we're so thankful for everything that you do in our lives. And we know that sometimes things don't go the way that we want them, but you have a bigger plan and a bigger purpose, dear Lord. And I just pray for her during this time. Please just calm her nerves and give her the words that you would have her to say. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I told Sharon Sue I wasn't going to turn around and look till I got up here so I wouldn't know how many people was here because it makes me so nervous. But I'm glad to see everybody, and I just want y'all to know that anything that I say about my past or anything, I don't want y'all to look at me and see that person. I want y'all to see what God has done for me. And the reason that I tell this story is not because I want people to feel sorry for me or to think, bad of me or to glorify the things that I have done, but to show what God has done in my life. And every one of us has a testimony. Any time that you have an account that God's touched your life or changed something from bad to good, then you have a testimony to share. And no matter how small it may seem, somebody else may need to hear that. So if you're ever prompted, to tell somebody something that you don't want to share, I encourage you to do that, because sometimes it helps heal you and it'll heal somebody else. I've prayed and prayed about today and what to say, and the Lord is, I think He wants me to say this or say that, and I just keep getting redirected. But, the whole time the word whosoever has kept coming up. And, in the Old Testament, it talks about whosoever does this is going to have to pay this price, and whoever does this is going to have to do this. And all the whosoevers were sinners. And, you get to the New Testament and you got John 3:16, and he says, God said, whosoever call upon my name shall be saved. So, even the sinners are whosoevers. We're all whosoevers. So wherever you're at in your life, you can call upon the Lord and ask for Him to touch you, and He's there. The singing was wonderful. Lauren Daigle was my favorite. She's been... a lot of her songs has been inspiration to me. We actually played one of her songs in my son's funeral. So, I'm just going to start out by saying my name's April Morris. Of course, y'all know that already. I'm married to Brad Morris. We have 5 kids. I have 2 grandchildren that, of course, I love them to pieces. Probably spoil them a little too much, of course. But my children, are my life. We've devoted our whole life to raising them. I had a wonderful childhood, wonderful parents. My mama taught Sunday school, her and Doris Robertson. I don't know if y'all know them or anything. Wonderful, wonderful lady. Of course, my mama was a great role model. She could make you feel about this tall and never raise her voice. She knowed how to get you. She was just that kind of lady. And I wished I could be more like that. But whenever my kids start, I start hollering, and pointing my finger. And then I think, Lord, please let me be more like my mama and quit hollering at these kids. But, I have a great daddy. Of course, I think he's the best, one of a kind, of course. But, I have a wonderful support group, a wonderful family. I had a great childhood. I was spoilt rotten. I grew up on Middle Butler with my whole family surrounding me. I had aunts and uncles all the way around me, and a grandma and a grandpa right there beside me. So if I didn't like what Mama cooked for supper, I went next door and seen what they had and eat where I wanted. So that's probably what I ain't never been skinny, because I always had what I wanted to eat. But growing up, I had me and my sister, we fought like cats and dogs. Of course, we loved each other. I wasn't going to let nobody else be mean to her, but of course, we was mean to each other. I think that's just sisters and brothers. But, as a child, we wasn't that close. But the Lord restores what's lost. You know, what the locust destroys, God will restore, you know, and He's restored our relationship. She's my best friend, you know. I went to pick her up today to come here because her truck's getting the air conditioner fixed, and you know, the Lord's always going to try to hinder you from doing what you're supposed to. So we start down through the driveway, and I'm talking to her, you know, and we start down her driveway, and the rain's washed out, and she said, it'll be all right. I said, well, it's a 4-wheel drive. We'll make it. Well, we get down through there, and the next thing I know, we got one wheel off the ground, so we're sitting on 3 wheels trying to come out of the driveway. So, but anyway, we made it out and made it here on time. But, you know, it's just stuff like that. You can choose to think of it bad, or you can choose to find the humor in it and see the good in it. So, you know, as life has carried me, that's one thing that I've learned is, you know, no matter how bad it is, there's always a light at the, you know, there's always a good side and a rainbow to see. Whenever I was in high school, you know, you have friends, you start doing this, you start going to parties or doing different things, you know. Of course, I was raised in church. I knowed right and wrong. I knowed what was right. I know what was wrong. I just didn't have the personal relationship with Jesus that I needed, you know. I knowed who to call on. I knowed He was there. I've seen people come to the altar. I've seen them accept God, and I believed that, but I still didn't accept it myself. So I, you know, continue to be a little wild. I mean, you know, just drinking and stuff. And I say nothing not that bad. It's all bad. But, you know, I just started a little, you know, here and there. And that's something that we don't understand. A lot of times we think this little thing is just a little thing. But, you know, one little thing leads to another little thing. I think teenagers nowadays, a lot of times, they have the mentality, well, I just in this. But what they don't realize is that little thing starts running with the wrong crowd and the different person and this, until that one thing leads to another and another, until, you know, they're blindsided by what's happened to them. I got pregnant whenever I was in high school with my oldest daughter. Her name's Autumn, and I love that baby. I love her more than anything. I still do. And, you know, I was a baby myself, and I thought that I was a good mama, but I wasn't a good mama. You know, I had a great mama that helped me, you know, but I wasn't the mama that I needed to be for her. You know, I was still trying to find my way. Well, I wound up getting pregnant again. And so I got married thinking that that's what I was supposed to do. I can remember thinking about my mama, you know, and I was thinking, well, I can't disappoint her. I've got to get married, you know, because this is my second child. So I wound up getting married, and I didn't stay married about 6 months. Very abusive, very, I can remember Autumn hiding under the table because she was scared, you know, and I take full responsibility for my actions and all of it, because I was not a woman of God. I wasn't a Christian. I was not praying for my marriage. I was not doing the things that I should do either. And I was a sinner. I mean, I didn't go to church and pray for God to heal my marriage, for God to heal my husband, to make things better. Instead of doing that, you know, I done the mentality, if you can't beat them, join them. So, you know, I started using drugs and doing different things. So I had 2 babies, a terrible marriage. I got a job working at Saturn. I was a millwright apprentice, and I was wore out, tired, and I was having trouble getting to work and different things. So my working partner asked me one day, said, I got something that'll make you feel better. You want to ride to lunch with me? So I said, yeah. So I got in there, and it's the first time I ever used meth. And I would love to say that I hated it and that it was horrible, but I went home, I took care of my kids, I give them a bath, you know, I had plenty of energy, and I was at work the next day 30 minutes early, you know, so it wasn't that I wanted to be an addict. I wasn't trying to become an addict. Nobody wakes up in the morning or when they're a kid and say, hey, I'm going to grow up and be an addict. That's not how it works. And I know that sometimes from a standpoint with people that's never had to deal with addiction or knows anybody that's been an addict, it is not something that they want to be. It is not something that they have desired to become. Yes, we've made the choice and we made the choices to get ourselves there, but that's not who they are. That's a bad choice that they've made that's led to other bad choices and other choices. So you can't quit on them. You have to pray for them. Now, there is a fine line in enabling and helping. And I am very, very grateful to my mother and father because they hit that right off the bat, the difference in enabling and helping. I thought they was hurting me because they wouldn't help me, but they was helping me. And I thought I had it together for a long time. I would go to work and I would stay up for 3 days and I'd sleep for a couple of days, back and forth like that. Just managed my kids and everything, and then the next thing I know, I'm strung out. I lost my kids. I can remember Ashton hanging on to me and begging me not to go, and I left him because I couldn't take care of him. I couldn't do, what he needed me to be for him, and I know that I had to get away from him because I didn't want him to see me like that. I couldn't be his mama. I did have pictures of me and the kids when I was in that shape, and I did not realize that I looked and was the way that I was. It was bad. The song that says dry bones, that's what I had become. There was no life left in me. I had no hope, no dreams, and give up. And I didn't want to do that to my kids, so Mom and Daddy wound up having to take the girls, and then when I had Ashton, I tried to come home for a while and do right for him, and stayed home for a little while, but I just couldn't do it, But I still like the one thing that we all know can save us, and that was Jesus Christ. You have to call upon him. He's always standing there. You just got to reach your hand out and he'll open, but we have to open our hearts up and let him in. I went from losing my kids to I lived in a car, and I can remember being so hungry, and I've told this several times, but I can remember being so hungry that I didn't know what I was going to do. And, I used to love them little peanut butter grandma's peanut butter cookies. Y'all know what I'm talking about, that's in the grocery store, and there's like 2 in a pack. And at the time, I want to think they was like 50 cents plus tax. I can't remember for sure. I think they're a lot more than that now, but then they was like 50 cents plus tax. And I can remember digging in that car trying to find just enough change to get me one of them peanut butters and cookies. And knowing in the back of my mind that all I had to do was call my mom and daddy and say I'm ready. But because I was so shameful and so hurt and had been so far gone, I thought that I couldn't come back from it. So I thought that I didn't have no other choice. This led to doing things for drugs that, that people do. I am very ashamed of the lifestyle I lived. It's not something that I like to share, but I was a horrible person. I was. My heart was hard. I had walked away from my family. I had walked away from my friends, and I had made new friends, or that I thought was my friends. But, I heard somebody say earlier, misery loves company, and that is so true, because whenever you have people that you hang around with and they see you take one step ahead of them, they're going to try to pull you back down. And I don't think it's an intentional thing. I think a lot of times people do it unconsciously, because if they leave you, they're leaving you behind and they're not ready to come out yet. So they feel like they're being left behind. So, they will try to keep you with them, as best they can. And I think that's not only, in drugs or anything, that's in life in general. I think we do it to ourselves a lot. I think when God's calling us, we have a comfort zone that we like to stay in. And whenever He starts wanting us to walk over here a little bit, we're like, well, I better just stay over here. And I know personally, I think that hinders me a lot. My past does, because I think because of where I've come from and the person that I was then hinders me from being who God wants me to be. Because I know that He don't hold it against me, but I think y'all hold it against me, or I hold it against myself. So I'm ashamed, if I walk in at church, I was very blessed and got to teach Sunday school for a while after I got clean, which I've been clean for 19 years. March the 7th was 19 years. So I have been clean since then. I've been trying my best to walk with the Lord since then. I fall short every day, but I continue to do the best I can. I had a Uncle Ledford, he told me one time, he was a preacher, and I went to hear him preach, and he asked me, I hadn't been clean very long, and I had just come home from rehab, and he asked me how I was doing, and I said, well, I'm trying. And he said, that's all He asks, is for you to try. He don't expect us to be perfect. He don't expect us not to mess up. He just expects us to try. And so that's what I try to do every day, is try to do better than I done the day before. Of course, my marriage was terrible. We got divorced, and I went back home to Mama and them, and then I wound up, like I said, living in a car and just in a terrible, terrible, terrible shape. And I'm not going to tell you about all that, because y'all know all the stories and what comes along with that, and all the hurt and being stuck. I had Ashton for a little while with me because the court hadn't give him to Mom and Daddy yet, and I thought that I wasn't going to let him go, because that's all I had left that I could still love and take care of. And I realized real quick that I wasn't taking care of him. I had left and was living in Huntsville in a hotel, and we would call it a crack house, I guess is what you would call it. It was horrible. And I left my son with a lady that I have never met before to watch for me while I went to work. And I realized that that was not where he needed to be. So I took him and I gave him to Mom and Daddy. And I still regret that to this day. Not that I gave him to them, but that I had to do that because I had got in that shape. People tried to help me. They reached out, they done different things, prayed for me. And praying for me was the best thing that anybody could have ever done for me. And my grandmother, I think she probably prayed herself sick for me. I've got letter that thanks to my sister that got some stuff out of Mom and Daddy's house and put it at her house. I still have this letter. I found it the other day, but she had wrote me a letter and told me that she was proud of me, and that when I was in rehab, and that means more to me than you ever know. That she got to see me clean up and not the person that I had become. God is so good. Even though I'm ashamed of where I come from, I can stand up here and tell you that I'm proud of where I am now, and it's all because of God. I have so many things that I could hold my head down about and be ashamed of, but I'm not going to. I'm going to hold my head up, and I'm going to tell what God has done for me and where He's brought me from. I finally got to a place where I wanted to do whatever it took to get to be a mama to my kids. My kids was my saving grace, and I didn't deserve them. Did not deserve them babies. They was too good for me. But I called Mama, and they told me that I could come to the house and stay with the kids. Of course, there was stipulations and stuff to it, which is understandable. They should have been. It took a while, but we finally got in touch with Mr. Junior Daniel. I don't know if y'all know Brother Junior, but he had heard about a place called Restoration Ranch, and we went and talked to him, and he got me some phone numbers, and I started making phone calls. And whenever I got the phone call, I called them, and then they would tell me to call them back at this time and call back at this time, you know. And before this, my mama had took me to a lot of different places to try to get help. And, you know, it wasn't an overnight process. During all this, you know, it becomes very hopeless. I went back to my ex-husband, and, you know, it's just worse than it was before. You know, it was just miserable. And sometimes being told that you're no good and that nobody loves you and you can't do no better or anything is worse than being hit. I know that physical abuse is horrible. I know that, but I think for me the physical abuse was not as bad as the mental abuse, because the mental abuse I still carry with me today. Sometimes I have to really put forth and know and trust God that I am not what people say I am. I am what He says I am. And I tried to take my own life. Tried to do it 3 times. And once I split my wrist, and I have the scar on my wrist that reminds me of it sometimes. But today, it's not a bitter remembrance. It is a happy remembrance, because I know that God had something in store for me. And when I see it, I know where I've come from, and I know what it means to me. I have scars around my neck where I tried to hang myself. I tried to hang myself with the bathroom. In the bathroom with a clothesline that we had hung up to dry some clothes, because we didn't have a washer and dryer. So anyway, I had, and luckily I was too heavy for it. But of course it left horrible scars around my neck. And you know, now I can't see them most of the time. I don't think probably people I have never noted. Nobody's ever asked me about them, but I see them sometimes when I look in the mirror. And I was very, very, very blessed. And, you know, it's still hard for me to compromise why God saved me, because, you know, I was one of the blessed ones. You know, it don't always work out that way. So many people lose loved ones in that way. And I will tell you this, when I was in that state, you know, I took pills. I took too many pills, and, you know, I don't know how long I slept, maybe days, I don't know, but I woke up. And, you know, I think about it, and I know what kind of state of mind I was in. And it wasn't that I wanted to die. It was I didn't want to hurt nobody else anymore, because I didn't deserve to live, because I was causing pain to my sister, to my family, to my kids. It wasn't because of me, because I wanted to die, because, you know, I know a lot of times people say, you know, I've heard this statement several times that if you commit suicide, you're being selfish. But that's not the case, because people that are in that state of mind, most of the time, it's not a selfish reaction. They have a lot more things going on than we think about or know. And I know with teenage girls, they have a lot of emotions going on in their minds and different things. And women in general, you know, men too, they have the weight of the world on their shoulder, but women are we have so many things that tell us we have to be this, we have to be that, we have to carry ourselves to this standard. Well, we're not up to this standard, so we're not worthy, and it's hard to be especially a younger lady now at this time, and it's hard for us to teach our children how to be ladies now. I don't know if y'all remember this, but a few years back, that song WAP was like that. She was recognized Lady of the Year. Well, how in the world can we teach our kids to be Christian ladies when the world is recognizing that as Woman of the Year? I mean, it's just not the way that God intended for our young ladies to act and dress and do. And I can remember asking my grandmother one time, because she was always, you had to wear a slip, you had to wear a dress, you couldn't go nowhere without a slip. I went to church without a slip. She'd bring me a slip to the house. That's just the way it was. And I remember when she passed away, the first thing I asked, did y'all take her slip? Because, she was a wonderful lady. But I remember asking her because, some women wear pants to church, but, she wore a dress all the time. And I asked her, I said, of course I was young, and I said, Mama, I said, do you think you'll go to hell if you wear pants to church? And she said, no. She said, it don't matter. She said that it wasn't about the pants or the dress. It was the matter that women were set apart for men and that we were different. And if we didn't continue to show the other ladies that we were different than the men, then that we would all be, that was something special for women, that we were different than men. And it was a good thing that we was different than men. So I've always remembered that. Now, I wear pants to church too, but I do try to make sure that I let my kids know when I carry myself differently. And I know that sounds awful because I am a welder, so I know it's kind of hard. But my kids, of course, had that. Kids are very resilient to everything. After everything I had put them through and everything that had went on, they loved me. I could walk in the door and they come running, Mama, Mama, Mama. I didn't deserve them babies. Did not deserve them. But I thank God every day that it ain't about what we deserve. It's about His grace and His mercy. If you think about it, no matter how hard we try to live right and do the right thing, we're never deserving of Him. But He loves us anyway, and He provides for us. He wants us to have life and have it more abundantly, and He gives us that, whether we choose to see the bad or the good. He's trying to give you life and give it to you more abundantly. Mama took me to different rehabs and stuff, and after I had tried suicide and Mama had found out about it, we had went to Bolivar because somebody had told us that that would be somewhere that could help me. Well, they was going to put me in a home for the mentally challenged and my mama told them no, that wasn't what I needed, that wasn't where we was going. And I would have went because I was so desperate and so lost and needed help. But my mama had enough sense and had been praying to God to know that wasn't where I needed to be, so she didn't let me go. And we wound up talking to Junior Daniel. I called the ranch and called, and I thought, this is hopeless. I'll never get in. And the day I said, I'm not going to call again, they told me what all I had to do to come, and I had to go have some blood tests and different things like that, And I kept saying, well, I can't get in, I can't pass a blood test, but I didn't know it wasn't for drugs. It was just for, they have to do blood tests to check for diseases and different things to keep everybody safe, But anyway, I went through all of that and finally got in, and I got down there, and my mama took me and dropped me off. And has any of y'all ever visited Restoration Ranch? Do y'all know anything about it or anything? Yes, it is a wonderful place. It's nothing fancy. It's very, very humble, and it is a very humbling experience. if you ever get a chance to go and listen to their praise and worship or be a part of something that they do, I would really recommend it, because the people in that place are so hungry for the Lord, because they are desperate and searching, and you can feel the presence of the Lord when you walk in. And but I got there and I could tell Mama, she didn't want to leave me, but I was ready. I wanted to stay, and of course, the kids would write me letters and stuff and ask me all kinds of questions, because you had to have butt coverage, is what they called it there. You had to wear baggy clothes and shirts that come down below your butt, because I don't know if any of you's ever dealt with anybody with drugs or anything like that. Women have a tendency to try to use how they look or their body or wear tight clothes and different things to get the attention of guys and stuff. And they tried to teach you to be humble and modest and to seek the Lord and not seek the attention of others. So, that was the purpose behind it and stuff like that. And I've told this too, and y'all see people, and I know y'all know what I'm talking about. You got the people on the side of the road that's probably been on drugs for a while, and they'll be strutting around, and they think they look good. And you know that they are very strung out, probably haven't had a bath in weeks, and we have a heart-wrenching gut thing to help them, but they don't realize that they're in the shape that they're in. I was that person. I was the dry bones. And when I got to the ranch, I went through all of that. I hated everybody. I didn't want nobody talking to me. And of course, I was very sick, going through withdrawals. And they would come in there and they would lay their hands on me and pray with me. And I would tell them no, to leave me alone and, to go on. And about, I would say 3 or 4 days in, I started feeling better. I wanted to get out of bed. Started participating, feeling life again, just a little bit of myself again. And every day I went to church for 6 hours a day, I guess, something like that. They had devotionals, and during the rest of the time we had chores. And, at first it was like, Lord, do I got to go to class again, but after a while, it becomes you're eager and you're hungry, and you have all these different preachers that come in and tell you different things, and then you have to disciple which one you want to, which one you want to read next. What do you want to do, and sometimes I want to just go back down there and stay for just a few days so I can just swallow myself in God and not worry about the world, because sometimes I get overwhelmed, with everything going on. You go through processes at this rehab, and they tell you that you have to stay for 9 to 10 months, because that's how long it takes a baby to be formed in the womb. So that's how long it takes you to learn how to live again in a new life. And so you start out on probationary period, and it is faith-based only, and it works. And they have these different stages, and I didn't understand at the time, and still didn't understand even after I graduated until now, later on I started realizing. But the first stage is your probationary stage, okay? And you get little bitty accountabilities, little bitty chores. You get trusted with little bitty things here and there and do different things. And in our walk with Christ, it kind of works out that way. When you start out, you don't know, you just know that you found something and you want to hold on to it. And as Christians, when we see somebody in that shape, we need to reach out to them and help them stay on the right track, because, that little bitty thing that they know now can be turned so easy into the back direction instead of forward, because we think that, we understand because we've been there a while. We know that we can't talk to our old friends. You can talk to them, but you can't go hang out with them anymore, and stuff. So I encourage y'all, when y'all see somebody in that shape and they're trying, give them something to do. Ask them to come to church with you. Ask them, hey, can I do anything for you? Would you like to go with us to this movie or whatever? Give them accountability that leads them to Christ people. Don't just say, hey, they got saved, they ought to all have it together, because I know that when I first got saved, I didn't have it all together. I was just struggling and searching. And I also know that one day they was talking about in class that the more you know, the more you're accountable for. And I was like, well, I better just quit right now, because I don't need to be accountable for any more. But anyway, so once you get through that program, then you start going to trustee, and then you go to resident, and then you go to counselor or TC counselor and stuff. So in each stage of this program, you become a little more trustworthy. They start giving you different things. And anybody that knows or has ever been around a drug addict, this is a big deal to them. And it is a big deal because if you've ever been there, you can't hand them a $20 bill. You can't trust them to watch the keys or the door or to drive a vehicle to go pick up donations for stuff or anything like that. But in each stage of this program, you get a little more trustworthy and a little more things. And then you start getting scared. Well, what if I mess up? What if I mess up? So you're scared to be trusted, but you're scared also not to keep going. So you do it a little at a time and a little more at a time. But I started to care not only about my well-being and me getting better. As a Christian, when we first start out and we've been struggling and everything, I was selfish, very selfish. I was like, Lord, please save me, help me get back to my kids, my life. I want to make my mom and daddy proud. I want to do this. Please, Lord, help me. But then after a little while, it started becoming less selfish. You start caring about other people. And whenever you do that in the program, you start having the younger people come in. You start praying for them and working with them and becoming counselors for them. And it is so hard when you start caring about somebody else and praying for them and you see them right on the edge of giving their life to God, and then there's something holding them back. And you'll pray and you pray and you pray and you pray and they just won't give in. And it's like, Lord, what am I doing wrong? Why can't I help them do it? But, we all know that we can't save anybody. Only God can. All we can do is help pray for them. I don't know about y'all, but if I died right now and if I went to hell, if it would get my kids to heaven, I'd go in a heartbeat. But it wouldn't. And we all know that. It just wouldn't. But I would give my life today and go to hell if it would save my kids. But that just ain't how it works. I would do it for y'all's kids, but we just can't do it. It just don't work that way. I started, my prayers become less selfish, as you started walking with the Lord. And I think y'all can probably all relate to that if you've ever started, and you struggling, you start out, and then when you become a Christian, you start getting stronger in your walk. It ain't no longer about you anymore. It's about us. As women in a community like ours, in the towns that we live, it's small. We need a support group. We need to be there for each other. We need to lift each other up, other women of God. And to be a lady of God in this day and time is hard. There's so many people and so many things trying to encourage us to do the other way. And it's okay to be like this, or it's okay to be like that. And a little bit here and a little bit there winds up a lot in a little while, and I see that happening so much. Especially my granddaughter is 12 years old, and I have a battle with her every day with her shorts, okay? And I know any of y'all that have teenage daughters or, at that age, it is hard. And you go to the store to buy her shorts. You can't buy them that come down below right here. It's just a fight. And then all of her friends are at school with them on. And, it is hard. So, as a group of women in a community, we need to help each other with this, If we all work together and all of our kids have, a standard to go by, then it'll help out, right? But, it is a battle every day with kids. But I want to stress this. My mistakes and the things that I did was not my mom and daddy's fault at all. They raised me right. They raised me the way that I should have been raised. I made the choices that I made. And even in a situation where you have parents that was not always there for you or doing like my kids had, they still chose to do the things that they choose to do. And a lot of times, for a long time, I have blamed myself for their choices because I was not there for them and not doing the things. I did not, wasn't there in the mama that I should have been for them for a long time. And I blame myself, but I know that I did the best I could once I got saved, and I took them to church and I showed them what was right and what was wrong, and they seen firsthand what it was like to have a mama in that state, in that situation, and they still made the choices that they made. And I have to tell myself every day that that's not my fault that I did. They have to make that choice. And I think the first thing in a walk with Christ and doing everything is not to blame anybody for your choices. It's to accept what you've done, where you've come from, and own up to it and go on. And I have to do it every day. I mess up every day, and I have to recognize that I've messed up and ask for forgiveness for myself and for God to help me do what I need to do to correct this. And I'm just going to skip through all that stuff. I was ready to go. It come time for me to graduate to the ranch, and I was so full of love for the Lord, I was so ready to get out there. And I will say this, I got saved while I was there. I've been there about probably 3 weeks, maybe a month, something like that, and I accepted Christ, and my life changed immediately. But I learned something while I was there. We used to fast on Thursdays, and the reason that they do this is because when the mission first started, they didn't have enough food to feed everybody, so they would fast on Thursdays and pray for more food, and then, that way they would do it. And I seen so many prayers answered just from people fasting from when they got up in the morning till 5 o'clock in the evening we got to eat. And people would pray for stuff just like everything's based on donations. So whenever we got there, we didn't have nothing. The only thing that I had was what my mama and daddy had got me, and I was blessed with that. But there was so many of them that didn't have nobody to buy them anything or anything like that. So anything from something as simple as they didn't have no pants to wear. The next day you would go in donations, and they would be a pair of pants in there exactly her size or exactly what she needed to wear. And I've seen people fast and pray for men, their relationships with their parents, with their husbands, different things like that. And I know that that's not something that you see or is commonly done, but I encourage you to try it. If you have something trying or something that's on your heart or weighing that needs to be done, I say try it and see what happens. Just fast and ask the Lord, pray. It ain't got to be for a long period of time, and it can just be giving up your coffee for the morning or something. But I really do encourage doing that, and that's something that I need to do more than what I do, but I like to eat. But anyway, but I've seen that, so, witnessing that sort of thing and seeing that makes your walk stronger. It makes you strive harder to want to do things. So, that's part of being a Christian as well. When you see other people get the things that they want, you feel relieved and loved and all that stuff, because that's a part of your family, a part of your Christ. That's your Lord doing that. That's your God helping these people. When it got time for me to go, I didn't know whether to stay or go. I didn't know if I was ready. You have an opportunity, you can stay on as a counselor and help other people coming in. And I didn't know whether it was time for me to go or stay. And I'd been praying really hard. And I don't know any of y'all that know me and my daddy. My daddy calls me Wart. I don't tell everybody that because I don't want everybody to call me Wart. But that's what he calls me. He said I grew on him like a little worry wart when I was a kid. So that's my nickname. And he still calls me Wart. But he told me, he said, Wart, he said, don't you think it's about time you come home and start helping your mama with these kids? And if my daddy was telling me to come home, it was time for me to come home, because I had put him and my mama through a lot, and he was ready for me to come home, so I knowed it was time. And I would like to say when I got home, life was full of roses, everything went good, it's run smoothly ever since, but we all know life ain't that way. When I first got there, when I first got home, I didn't have a job, and I started wondering, and waiting, what am I going to do? I want to provide for my kids. I want to be a good mama. I can't get my kids back on my own if I don't get a job. Different places. Nobody wants to hire a drug addict. Nobody wants to have this. And I will tell y'all, a lot of people go to AA and do different things like that. But for me, I cannot get up in the morning and look myself in the mirror and say that I'm an addict, because I'm not. I am a child of God, saved by grace. I am no longer an addict, and I refuse to be called that again. And so, nobody wants to hire somebody like I was. And so I kept searching and searching, thinking, what am I going to do? And my Uncle Ricky wires houses, and he called me one day and he said, April, do you think you want to come and help me wire some houses? I need some extra help. And I said, yeah, but I don't know nothing about wiring a house. And he said, well, I think if you can weld, you'll manage. And I said, okay. So I went to work with him. They helped me get my license back. I worked for them, and they paid for me to get my license so I'd have a way back and forth to work. And I paid them back through working and stuff. Gradually worked my way up. Worked with them in the summers for a long time and different things, but I got a call one day and asked me if I was ready to go back to work welding, and I said, yeah, I would love to. And I was blessed with more than I ever deserved, because I never dreamed that I would be able to have a good job again where people would trust me and stuff like this. And for somebody like me, my daddy gave me the keys to his lawnmower and told me to put them up for him, to keep up with them. And, that don't sound like no big deal to everybody else, but to me that was a big deal, because if you knowed me before, ain't no telling what I'd have done with that lawnmower. But, he gave me the keys to that lawnmower and trusted me again. I was trusted with money. I was trusted with my kids by myself. All the things that the devil and the locust had stole from me, God was restoring a little at a time. When I first went to the ranch, my sister found out she was pregnant. She had cervical cancer and was told that she wouldn't be able to have a kid. And not only did God start improving my life and restoring me, he started restoring my family and them, through prayers from everybody and everything. Not only just me, but the people around me started seeing, Lord, God, God's love and stuff happening to them. And, I cannot express enough what God has done in my life. My son, if anybody knowed him, he was a special kid. Everybody's kids are special, but he was just one of them kids. I never had to call him and say, hey, where are you at? He'd call me and he'd say, Mama, why ain't you home? Where are you at? He'd come in my room every night, and I'd be so tired. I got a good job, and I was able to provide for my kids on my own. I didn't have to depend on nobody else, But one of the downfalls of this job is I had to work 7 days a week, 6 hours a day, 12 hours a day, 6 and 7 days a week, and was gone. But, I was blessed. Mama had got sick with cancer during all of this, and I had to come home. And when I first started working, I got laid off in the summertime. So I would work with Uncle Ricky and different things like that. But I would save up my money while I was working, then I'd be at home for a while. But during this time, Mama had got sick, and Joey and them was down with the chicken house, was out of eggs, or wasn't getting eggs, so they was having down times. And me and my sister got to be at home and take care of my mama. Something that I would have never been able to do. But God brought me home just in time to be there. And could I have been mad and said, well, God, why did you save me for her and bring me home for her just to die now? He didn't. He brought me home so I could be there with her when it counted. And that's what I was. And, it just all fell into place. And was that coincidence? No, it was God working in our lives all along. He started from way before we knowed all of it was going to happen. He started putting that in process. when I was growing up, I always said I wanted 5 kids. I don't know what I was thinking. I was crazy, I guess. But that's what I said when I was a kid. I always said I wanted 5 kids. And I met my husband. We was working. I've told this before, and I'm going to tell it again. He asked me one day if he could borrow my phone to call home and check on his kids because his wasn't working. And of course, I was a sucker. His kids, oh yes, you can use my phone. Well, he used my phone to call his phone, and that's how he got my phone number. So, anyway, ever since then, we've become friends, and stuff. And we was friends for a long time before we actually started dating because that was not something that I was ready for, and I did not feel like I deserved that kind of love. Even though I know I was saved and I was doing good and everything, I still did not feel worthy of that again. And, eventually he made me feel worthy of him, and God made me feel worthy of that love again. And I'm not going to say we don't fight, because sometimes we do. Saturday, I throwed the flower at him, so, it's just, it happened. Now I had to ask for forgiveness for acting ugly, but anyway, but yes, we do have our ups and downs, but that man has been wonderful to me, and I love him with my whole heart. And I never thought in all my life that that would be possible again, because I don't deserve that. But it ain't about what we deserve, it's about God's grace and mercy. And of course, he had 2 kids, so when we got married, I had my 5 kids that I asked for since I was a baby. And I love them 5 kids so much. And we dated for a long time. We didn't get married. I think we waited 3 years, something like that, before we got married, because that's a lot. 5 kids, he was just recently divorced. I didn't know how that would go because, that's always a messy situation and different things. I had just started a new life, just been able to provide for my kids. I had just been given custody of my kids back, and my mama got to see that before she passed away. She actually went to the courthouse in a wheelchair and witnessed them give me my kids back, and she was very proud of me. She said I was her miracle, and I'll never forget whenever she come to see me at the ranch, she hugged me and she said, "April, your eyes are blue again. I thought I would never see your eyes that blue again." And that means a lot to me. But we raised our kids, our boys and girls. We had 3 girls and 2 boys, and it's funny because Jake is like me, and Ashton is like Brad, and everybody would always say that Jake, would look just like me, and Ashton looked just like Brad, but people that didn't know no different. But one thing that I learned from my grandmother is when you combine a household and you have 2 different families, you can't have your kids and my kids. They're all kids, and they're your kids. They're our kids together. And that is something that we strived very hard to do, is to make our family one family, because we didn't want them to feel divided or left out or hurt or torn. And them kids on both sides had been through so much. So my main goal was to make it our family. And we did that. My kids are very close. They don't talk to me, but they talk to each other. But my son, as y'all know, he passed away in a car wreck. He was 16, almost 17. He was born in June the 20th, 2002, and he passed away on April the 19th, 2019. And life don't always turn out the way we want it to. I can remember going down the road and saying, "God, you have blessed me." So many people don't have this, and I don't deserve it. So many people have sick kids. So many people have dealing with different things and different stuff going on, and you have blessed me with all of this, and I don't deserve it, and I can remember just thanking him so much for everything. And then, I can remember going upstairs, and Ashton's room was always at the top of the stairs after Autumn had moved out. Ashton's room was always at the top of the stairs there, and if he was at home, his door was shut, and if his door was open, he was gone. That's just how it was, and you could see his room from the top of the from the bottom of the stairs, and anyway, I can remember going up there to take laundry up there, and I can remember getting this cold chill go over me, and I can remember thinking, Lord, just please take care of my babies, And then I can remember thinking, what if something happens to one of my babies? And that's something that we've all thought about but don't want to think about. That's every mama's worst nightmare. It just is. It's just something that you don't want to happen. You pray for that. But if being honest, that was what ran through my mind. What if something happened to Ashton? What would I do? And I can remember praying, then while I was putting up the laundry, I was praying, saying, Lord, just whatever happens, just you take care of him. And when he wrecked and we got the call, and I went trying, as fast as we could get there. And of course, when we got there, they wouldn't let us go to him or anything like that. But I can remember, remember that show that was coming out? I think it was about the boy that fell in the water, and you could hear on the commercials it would say, Lord, I need a miracle. And in that movie, she got her miracle. And I can remember praying that, Lord, I need a miracle. Lord, I need a miracle, please. But as I was praying that, I was wanting one miracle, and I got another one. Because I got a peace over me that is unexplainable to this day. And I don't know. I can't explain it. It was only God. It can only come from God. But I know from that moment that my baby was better off. He was better where he's at now than he was with me. Now, selfishly, did I want him to be here with me? Yes, I do. But I will honestly tell you that if I could go get him right now and bring him back to this world, I would not do that to that boy, because he is much better off in that land than he is here. Now, do I want to go visit him and hug him? And when I think about him, I can see him smiling and holding his arms out, welcoming me. That's what I picture. When I picture heaven, I picture them up there waiting on me. I picture them. I don't need a mansion. I don't need streets of gold. I don't need none of that. I just want to make it to the gate and see that baby's face. And I strive every day to do what it takes to be that person that God wants me to be. Speaking in public is not something that I just really look forward to doing, and I've always agreed to do it. I told God that I would always do it when I was asked to do it, because that's what He had done for me, and I was not ashamed to share it. And my children right now, I went to a ladies' conference. I love going to ladies' conferences and revivals and stuff like that, because it's just a difference than the ordinary. So sometimes you just get a little bit of a revival that you don't have. Not that I don't love my preacher, because I do. He's great and he is a good pastor and everything. But it just gives you a little change up, a little sense of revival to hear, a new prospect, a new word, to see different people serving the Lord. So that's something that I look forward to and like to do. But I forgot what I was saying. But they are lost. My children are lost. I have prayed for my kids, for many, many years, and I have prayed for them to be happy, self-sufficient, and mighty men and women of God. That is my prayer. But we went to a ladies' conference, and that's what I was going to say. There was a lady in there speaking. Y'all know her. What was her name? Anyway, she said that whenever her mother and father-in-law prayed, that they prayed for their children and prayed by their name. And when my kids, I pray, I say I'm for my kids or this, or please do this for my children. But I've never named them one by one like that. Well, I've started naming my kids one by one when I pray for them. You know, I tell them, I say, Lord, I speak your life over Autumn. I speak your life over Allie. I speak your life over Brooke. I speak your life over Jake. And please hug Ashton. And Lord, help me to make sure that I show your life to Taylon. And, you know, now for the new baby, Liam, I pray for him. But I use their names in my prayers now. And since I have done that, my daughter has been clean for a while now. She's living with me. My other daughter is doing good. She does not talk to me, but I know that the Lord's going to restore that again someday too. My other children come home every weekend that they're not working and spend the weekend with us and are around us, and that is something that I have not had in a long, long time. I laugh, you know, I know a lot of you know, a few months ago our house burned, and, you know, that's our home. You know, when we got married, the house had 3 bedrooms in it when we got married, and I moved in there, and I brought 3 kids. Of course, we, you know, 2 kids, so we had 5 kids, so we didn't have nowhere to put them. So I had mattresses under beds to put kids in. So at night when we get ready to go to bed, we'd pull out the mattress, everybody go to sleep, you know. And we did this for a long time, you know, and loved it. I mean, the kids was close. I mean, it wasn't that big. You know, I kept thinking in my mind, this is awful, this is awful, this is awful. But now that I think back on it, it wasn't that bad. It was really great, you know. And but my husband built the upstairs onto the house and added the top, so everybody eventually got rooms and stuff like that. But, you know, when our house burnt, you know, I could see all them memories. I got up that morning, I had the flu, and I was, like, so sick. And when I went to the other end of the house, it was already engulfed, you know, and I couldn't do nothing. And I kept thinking, well, I need to get this, and I need to get that, but I just couldn't. Could not get nothing. And you know, I sat there and I watched, you know, all of our memories and stuff just burn, you know. And the hardest part, I guess, is the stuff, you know. Of course, you know, there's stuff that's sentimental, like some quilts and stuff like that my grandmother's had, the kids' baby pictures and stuff that I would love to have back. But the stuff is not what hurt. It was the memories. And Ashton's room was right over the top of our room, and that side of the house was the last one that burnt, and that big the window there, all of his stuff kept falling down in front of that window. And he had a set of wheels that he had bought for his truck. Granddaddy told him that when he turned 16, he would give him his truck, and he told him this like probably when he was 10, so he probably didn't really think that the truck would be around. But anyway, he had bought some new wheels and stuff for that truck, and you know, he had his jersey hanging up. You know, he was number 32. He loved football, and he had that jersey hanging up on the wall up there. And I can remember, I just watched it all just kind of fall, and I was thinking, Lord, you know, why, you know? But you can't take my memories of my son away from me. You know, all of that stuff that was his, I can't replace. But I have realized over time, I've had people bring me a bowl back that was mine, that I'd brought food to them in or something. I have give stuff of Ashton away to different people and stuff. Like my nephew tried to give me one of his caps back, and I wouldn't take it back because, you know, that's what I want. I want that stuff spread out everywhere. I want our lives to still be a part of everything and everywhere around us. It ain't about all that stuff in the house and all that stuff. Yes, it's hard. I mean, we're renting a cabin. We was blessed to find somewhere. People was really nice to let us start renting real quick, you know, and very, very blessed. And I will say this, I feel more blessed and more loved now than I did before because I've been showed that much love by people. You know, the dry bones that Gabby sung about in the Lauren Daigle song is where I was. But you know, all God done was took and breathed life into me. And I started becoming flesh and bone again. I've started becoming alive. I received hope of a future. I see the colors of the rainbow when the rainbows are out. I can see that again. I see what I have in store for me. And you know, Brad pulled up. He was out of town working when the house burned, and he pulled up, and he come running across the yard and hugged me, and I said, we ain't got nothing but each other now. And I was wrong. We got all kinds of stuff. We've got family, we've got friends, and we've got God, so I know that it will be restored. I know that my children will find the Lord. I'm going to stand firm on that because I trust God, and I know that they're going to come back to the Lord. And like I said, we all wish that we could do it for them, but we can't. But we can pray and keep praying. And I hope I haven't bored y'all too much and everything, but I do want to read y'all something before I leave. Y'all know that the number 32 is pretty important to me, but I've been trying to memorize this, and I can't get past like the first 2 verses, but I will eventually do it. But it's Psalms 32, and it says, blessed is the one, I can't see anymore either, but blessed is the one whose transgressions are forgiven, whose sins are covered. Blessed is the one whose sin the Lord does not count against them, and in whose spirit is no deceit. When I kept silent, my bones wasted away through my gnawing, groaning all day long. For day and night your hand was heavy on me. My strength was sapped as in the heat of summer. Then I acknowledged my sin to you and did not cover up my iniquity. I said, I will confess my transgressions to the Lord, and you forgave the guilt of my sin. Therefore, let all the faithful pray to you while you may be found. So, I think that's very fitting for the situation. For those of us, our transgressions are covered. Thank y'all.
Thank you so much, Gabby and April. Tonight, I'm going to ask Miss Veda if she would, just to come and play something for us, if you would. I'm going to give this a time of invitation, and this is just for anyone tonight that I think the word I kept hearing tonight was restoration, forgiveness. All of our sins have been covered, and isn't that something wonderful? I don't know where you are tonight. Some of you may be on a path that you don't want to be on. Some of you may have children on a path that you don't want them on. Some of you may have been heartbroken. I don't know. God knows. But I'm going to have Miss Veda just play for us. If any of you would like to come to the altar, you're welcome to pray. If you would like someone to pray with you, we have ladies in our congregation that would be glad to pray with you.